welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. Animal wrangling for me, as always, is our volunteer coordinator, Sean Snyder. And last episode, we had all dogs, because that's what we have. And we still have a ton of dogs on our adoption floor, more than usual. But we are going to introduce you to a few cats today as well. But first up is one of our larger dogs. His name is German, and he's about 7 months old. So that's right, he is still an adolescent dog, so he's going to get a little bit bigger, if you can imagine that. And he is a Cane Corso mix. He came to us as an owner surrender. They said that they just did not have the time. They couldn't afford to care for him, things like that. So he's here looking for another chance at a forever home. Hopefully for the rest of his life, we'll be able to find him a great spot. He is a dog that is still very young, so he does need to learn some manners, but he does have a couple of basics, things like sit, and he takes treats very gently. He's very friendly. But he's going to need to work on, some of his a little bit of counter conditioning with other dogs when he's walking through the kennels. Sometimes he's a little bit reactive, if you will. Doesn't have any issues with food, doesn't have any issues with toys. Does have a bit of a breed-specific problem with the drool and slobber. So if you're not a fan of big jowls and slobber and drool, maybe German or this particular breed would not be the best fit for your family. He can be a little bit nervous, even just coming in here. There was like a change. He was a little unsure, so it took some coaxing to get him in. So even though he's a bigger dog, he does still have a little bit of wariness and some new surroundings and things like that. He's a dog that's going to need a lot of exercise as well, so making sure that you're prepared to make sure that he's getting all he needs in that regard.
So he has some very noticeable red growths on both of his eyes. What are those?
So that's a medical condition that's commonly referred to as cherry eye. And so people tend to have 2 eyelids, but dogs and cats have 3 eyelids. And so the third eyelid is kind of prolapsed, creating that growth there. And that is something that would need to be surgically fixed. They just kind of put it back in place. It's really important because if you're not doing that, then what can happen is, because that third eyelid helps create like the tears and stuff, they get really dry eye. It can affect their vision and stuff long term. So that is something that an owner is going to have to consider when taking on German as their pet. That's something that they're really going to need to get fixed. Sometimes they might need to have it done more than once, but that percentage is relatively low. But overall, he's friendly. He's going to be a great addition, but you do want to make sure that you're have the time to kind of provide him with the training and the exercise that he needs, a little bit of socialization that he still needs as a 7-month-old dog, and making sure that you're going to be able to take care of his medical needs as well is going to be really important. If you think that those are all things that you can handle and you want to meet and potentially take home a German, then you're going to need to make an appointment to visit with him. And the first step to doing that is booking the appointment, and you can do that at visitfcac.as.me. We typically don't have very many small dogs here at our facility, but we do have a smaller dog that recently went on our adoption floor, and this is Bisbee. We're estimating her age to be about 1 to 2 years old. She came in as a stray, so we're really looking at body condition and teeth and things like that to make those assessments. We have put her down as a spaniel mix, and she is a high energy dog. So if you're looking for a dog that's just gonna like hang out on your couch, probably not this one. She's into toys. She's trying to get to the treats that Sean has hidden behind him. She was trying to get into another dog's kennel last night. So she's definitely a dog that's going to need a lot of attention, exercise, things like that. She is very treat motivated, so she may do well in things like agility or other things like that are going to keep her active, and also not just physically but mentally as well. Mental stimulation can be just as important in terms of wearing them out as any type of physical exercise. And a lot of people think, oh, it's a small dog, I'll just take it out on a walk. Leash walks are like appetizers for exercise for dogs. So off-leash play is going to be really important, whether it's inside. We use it a lot, this room a lot actually, for off-leash play. Gets all those zoomies out, things like that, or your backyard, other areas like that. In terms of her behavior assessment, she does still have some things that she needs to work on. Confirming all of those house training things, learning to walk nicely on a leash and not pull is going to be important for her. She does have some basics, like she does know sit, and she does seem to kind of come when you call her. She doesn't know her name yet, but when you kind of clap and things like that, she will come to you. No age limits or anything listed for this dog, but she is very, very busy.
I heard there's a story behind her name. How did she end up getting it?
So she was in processing and behaving like this, and we were like, man, she's really busy. And then we're like, well, she's a busy bee. But then like busy bee is kind of like, pretty generic. So then we were like, Biz Bee. So sometimes the animals get their names just because they come in with names like German. That was his name when he came in, so we don't change those. But sometimes we just go through the baby name book and we're like, this sounds good, this looks like that fits their personality. And sometimes it's more a direct correlation to their personality and things that we're seeing. And that's the case with this dog. Another reminder that she's going to be a high energy dog and she's going to be busy. So some baby gates or things like that might be good to kind of keep her in certain areas, make sure she's not going to get bored and decide to maybe do some things that we would, as pet owners, would not appreciate. If you have all of the energy that is going to be comparable to Bisbee's and you want to make her part of your family, you can make those appointments to visit by going to visit fcac.as.me. But again, small dogs get adopted very quickly. If you want to verify that she's still here before making your appointment, you can call. And our main number is going to be 301-600-1546. Our last canine guest today is, I'm going to say it, he's my favorite dog right now. It's undeniable. I'm in love with Abraham. He is one of our younger dogs. He is about 7 to 9 months old. And he is, I think, what most people think that they're going to get when they get a puppy, like super affectionate, wants to lick your face, wants to sit in your lap and crawl all over you, wants to give you hugs, is obsessed with playing with toys and loves to toss them up in the air and chase them, and he slides all over the floor. He's just a bundle of energy. He is very treat motivated. He takes treats very nicely. He does know sit already. We've been working on some other things like touch and find it, and he's picking up all of those things very quickly. But he can be a little bit of a nervous dog too. When he first comes into new places, he's a little bit wary. He likes to kind of observe. Meeting new people the first time, he's like, you got some treats though. You win him over pretty quickly. He's not a hard sell in that regard. Like we were doing our testing for our processing, he was afraid of the fake hand. So he couldn't test him to see if he was food aggressive or anything like that because the hand freaked him out, which is not uncommon. It's not a real thing. It's a little bit weird. Sometimes he can be a little bit unsure of other dogs. If they're, loud and in his face, he's a little bit fearful of that. But with proper introductions, he seems to do fairly well. He has a lot of potential, but again, he's still a young dog and he's a little under-socialized, so he needs to learn that hats aren't scary and that sunglasses are okay and umbrellas and different noises and things like that. That's an important part of getting a puppy or an adolescent dog, is making sure that they know that all of these things that we deal with in the world on a daily basis are good and mean good things and are safe and they're not things to be fearful of. And sometimes when dogs come into the shelter, they miss out on that critical part when they're young, so we have to work a little bit harder when they're older. I don't think it's going to be a big issue with Abraham, but it is something that he does need to work on.
So from when he first arrived, he has definitely changed. What are some of the changes he's made?
So Abraham arrived on the 6th of February, and when he first came in, he was terrified. He was trembling. He was so physically fearful that he was trembling and trying to hide underneath of his bed. Unfortunately, he was a little too big, so that was a struggle for him. So we implemented a lot of different things to kind of help calm him down and relax him. So we covered part of his kennel so that he had a safe hiding zone where he could avoid strangers and people, other dogs if he wanted to. We turned on some very calming, relaxing music for him, and I started getting him out every day. So just getting him exposed to other areas and people and learning to trust. And relatively quickly, within a week, I would say he made a big turn. But then he was in a kennel that was very busy with dog traffic, and some of the dogs like to be brave and gloat about their walks when you're in your kennel, and that was a bit of an issue for him. So we moved him to a kennel with a lot less traffic, and now he is very relaxed and calm and happy. So there are lots of little things that you can do to make the animals more happy and content and with management, not only in your home, but here in the shelter. And I think a lot of people are concerned that we don't necessarily always do those things, but this is just to assure people that yes, when we see things, we want to make sure that the animals are feeling comfortable and happy until they find their forever home. Like, we treat them like they're our pets here, and we want to make sure that they're happy and content while they're staying here with us. If you want to meet with Abraham and you think that he would be a good addition to your household, again, the first step is going to be to make those appointments, and you can do that by going to visit fcac.as.me. You can also find downloadable applications there, so you can download those, fill them out, have them ready to go in case you see your perfect forever pet here when you visit. Recently, we haven't had a very large cat population, which is not uncommon for this time of year, but it's been uncommonly low, the population on our cat floor. And recently we did process a few more. So, there are some out there now. And Copernicus, or Cat Pernicus, who is our current guest, is one of those cats. He's about 1 to 2 years old, and like a lot of our cats, he came to us as a stray. And he's a little bit more timid at first. But some of our staff have already fallen in love with him and assured me that he is super affectionate and super cuddly. It just takes him a little bit of time to warm up to new environments and new people and things like that. And, when we don't know where he's coming from, it can be understandable, right? Being outside can be quite scary. There's lots of things that you have to worry about. So he's just getting used to learning to trust his new environment. So while he doesn't tend to hang out in the front of his cage like some of the obnoxious kittens that are like, pick me, choose me, love me, right? He's kind of more in the back. But if you start to open the cage and start to pet him, he starts to purr and he starts to kind of lean in because he's enjoying that type of attention. The staff wrote on his behavior assessment that he enjoys pets, but also napping, and who doesn't? So he enjoys his cat naps and his comfy spots. One of the things that you may notice that he's doing when you visit is sometimes when cats are a little bit unfamiliar of their environments, they tend to gravitate towards their litter box. And it grosses a lot of people out because they're like, that's your bathroom, that's pretty nasty. But from a cat's perspective, no matter where they live, they tend to have a litter box. So it's something that's very comforting and familiar. And cats are also very obsessed with their own smells. It makes them feel safe and like they have a sense of ownership when they can smell their scent on something. And once they use the litter box, it has their scent too. So that's why they can tend to gravitate towards those places. And once they feel more comfortable, they won't do that. Even today when you went to get him, he wasn't in his litter box today. He was, under his hammock, a little bit still secluded, but not in his litter box. So he's making great progress, and that's something very common to see in the shelter.
So Copernicus has a few scabs on his face. Where do we think they came from?
So it's not uncommon to see scabs and stuff on animals that come in astray, especially if they've been trapped. It can be scary to be caught in a trap and you can't get out, and then they try to get out, and then they kind of scratch their face up, and so sometimes they can get scabs like that, and that may be more likely where the scab on his nose came from, is from like that type of a situation. You can also, when they're astray and they're trying to hide, there's plenty of, branches and bushes with thorns, and those types of things can cause some of those traumas on their face as well. But in his case also, if you're looking at his ears, he has ear mites that he's been treated for, but that makes their ears very, very itchy. So then they're constantly scratching at their ears. So that could have caused the trauma from his ears. So we've treated all of those things, and his scab on his nose is actually getting ready to fall off, and he'll be good to go and look as handsome as ever in a couple of weeks and be ready for a new forever family. If you are interested in making him part of your household, you can obviously book that appointment to visit by going to visit fcac.as.me. But because cats are going so quickly, because our population is so low, you can always check if you're interested in an animal by calling us to see if they're still available when you're ready to come in and visit. And our main phone number is going to be 301-600-1546. There's a lot of people right now coming into the shelter looking for kittens, and we don't really have any kittens right now, but we do have this guy. I think he might be the youngest cat on the floor right now at about 7 months. Pretty soon we will be inundated with tiny, 10 to 14-week-old kittens, but right now I think Mufasa here is our youngest guy at 7 months, and He is a very friendly, affectionate cat. He was a little bit vocal. He was definitely not 100% thrilled to be carried around. So if you're looking for a cat that you can kind of pick up and carry around and cuddle like a baby, this guy might not be it. But he seems to be super content to sit on your lap and hang out that way. So that's maybe a better way to make sure that he's getting his affection and attention. I always equate young cats to toddlers. You know, they're experiencing a lot of things for the first time, so they're experimenting. Can I chomp on it? Can I scratch on it? Can I chew it? Can I carry it over here? So it's always important to do a little bit of cat proofing when you're integrating a new cat into your household to make sure that they don't jump up on your coffee table and knock over your great grandmother's antique vase. So those are all just parts of having a cat, and eventually you can train them to know what surfaces they're not allowed to get on and things like that. But always being prepared, especially with a younger cat in the household. They can be a little bit more active than say some of our older, more established cats that just kind of want to hang out and relax. So far he has, in terms of his behavior assessment, he's been very confident with strangers. Again, he enjoys affection. He doesn't seem to be upset by many things. His recovery time from stress is very quick and things of that nature. So he's going to be a great addition to any household, but he is a cat that, because of his age, probably will go quickly at this time of year. So if you are interested, definitely check in and make sure that he is still available. We have a lot of people, seeing the pictures and things, and then when they come in, they're already adopted and they get a little bit disappointed. So it's kind of a day where a time of year where you have to really be checking in and stuff if there's something specific that you're looking to add to your family.
So most often we get domestic short-hair cats, and Mustafa looks very similar to a domestic short-hair. What makes him a Manx?
That's right. His breed is classified as a Manx, and when I first started working here, I didn't really know what that was, so I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that's super interesting. So Manx, they are a tailless breed of cat, and if you might not be able to see it, but Mufasa doesn't have very much of a tail. And when you're doing the research, and they have specific types of Manx cats based on how many vertebrae of a tail they have. For a while during COVID, we had a cat named Sophie who had zero tail. So she was like one type, but he has a little bit of a tail, looks like a bobtail. That's a different type. So it's super interesting if you want to look it up. They also have great personalities. They're known for their personalities and kind of being relaxed and friendly family pets as well. So that's what makes him classified as a Manx. It's that tail situation. But in all other ways, they pretty much look like your standard domestic short hair. If you're interested in making sure that this guy's going to be available when you visit, you can give us a call at 301-600-1546. You can also shoot us an email at animalcontrol@frederickcountymd.gov. The last animal that we have for you today is Curry, and Curry is a cat that's been with us for a while, but she had been living in foster care. And now she's back looking to find a forever family. She is not a kitten, but she's a young cat at 1 to 2 years old. And the great thing about cats that are a little bit older is that they're past that kitten phase. But a lot of people say they want a cat that's going to like grow up with their kids and be there for a long time. And when you get a cat that's still a year old, you're getting all of that. But you're getting a little bit more of an established personality, things like that. And the benefit of a cat that's been in a foster home is that they have been living in a home, so they do know what that's like and they're pretty comfortable there. Curry is a cat that, again, is not going to be necessarily right at the front of her cage begging for your attention, but she does enjoy attention and affection. She seems to be very curious as she's trying to get down and explore right now. And that's kind of something that they noted on her paperwork is like in her cage, she's kind of relaxed, observing her surroundings and things like that, not necessarily super focused on a human at all times. But that's pretty typical cat behavior. They like to hang out and get attention when they want, and then when they're done, they like to go off and do their own thing. So she's pretty typical and average in that regard. And she also, recovers very quickly from stress and things like that. So she's going to be a great addition to a household, and definitely probably add a little bit of liveliness with her, desire to explore and things of that nature.
So Curry lived in a foster home for a while. Why didn't she just go on our adoption floor right away?
So cats can go into our foster program for a variety of reasons. We frequently have 4-month quarantine cats, right? Which happens when they come in with a wound of unknown origin. But more frequently, we have mama cats in foster care, and that is why Curry was living in foster care. When she arrived to our facility, she was very pregnant. So we went ahead and sent her to a foster home where she was able to give birth to her kittens and raise them until they they were able to be weaned. And then she came back here so that she could, get a little peace and quiet, right? But also find a forever family. Her kittens are still deemed underage, so they're still living in that same foster home, being socialized and handled by that foster parent and her family, so that they can be, learn to be around people and become good pets, house pets themselves. Fosters are something that are incredibly important to our program. Sometimes we'll have, 40 to 50 kittens in foster care at any given time, sometimes more. And they really help ease the strain, not only of the animals that we have to care for here in this facility, but also making sure that those young kittens are getting, are in an environment that has less germs, but are also getting that socialization that they really need. If you are interested in becoming part of our foster program, I would encourage you to email us at animalcontrol@frederickcountymd.gov, and then we can make sure that those emails and inquiries get to the appropriate staff person. There is typically a home visit, either in person or online, and there's an application process, a little bit of training involved in that, but it's super important part of any shelter program, and it is something that can be super rewarding, and you get to name all the kittens, which is super fun, right?
Yeah.
So if you're interested in any of those things, definitely check in. But if you want to meet Curry, you want to go to visitfcac.as.me to book that appointment. We hope you enjoyed meeting some of our adoptable pets, and we will have more for you in 2 weeks.